Welcome to the Your Audio Solutions podcast, episode 17, approaching 20 episodes. Today we don't have a guest on. Instead, I want to talk to you about how to find clients online. So, as many of you know, there's a free guide I offer, and in this guide you can find the actual script I'm using that I would talk to you about in this episode. So I recommend you listen to this episode and you go to the link below to download the guide so you can use it and see how I do it. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is how to find bands, or actually how to contact bands online. So this is specifically if you are a home studio owner, this will be perfect for you, or freelancer or work in a studio, it doesn't really matter. This will work for you. So you can use any site you want to use to find music. I myself use Bandcamp because there's a lot of great rock artists on there, and since that's my sort of music, that's a perfect place for me. But if you like any other style of music, go to the site that you know well and where you can find bands' contact details. That's what you need. And I want to talk to you about how to send them an email, because that's the most likely way you're going to contact them. So I'm not going to tell you the email in verbatim here. I'm going to just explain to you the best way to write an email. And I use this to contact people that I want to interview for the podcast, and bands, for example, or music publishers that I want to pitch my music to. It's the same, it follows the same concept. And the concept is pretty straightforward. So, first of all, this is what I've been trying lately. In the headline or the subject line, I think this is an old online dating trick, where if you want someone to open your message, you write RE : hello, for example. So when I contact a band, I say RE : mixing. So it looks like it's a reply, I think. It's a bit of a cheeky way of getting someone to open an email. I don't know if it's crucial. I've just been trying it lately and I get quite a lot of responses, so it might help you a tiny bit on the way. So just a quick subject line tip. But the actual email, it follows a pretty straightforward concept. So it's always like, hello, whoever you're talking to, and be conscious about their time. So I always say, I know you're probably busy, so I will keep this short. And then I introduce my name. And then if it's a band I'm writing to, I say, I'm really loving your band name. Your album is great. This song is awesome. I love the sound of this, that, your style, etc., etc. So every time, the opening of every email I do is always about the person I'm contacting. So make it all about them in the beginning. Because they don't really care about you at this point. So that's just to get their attention and show them that you know what they have done and that you love what they do, basically. And this goes, I do the same thing when I write to people I want to interview. And then I introduce who I am. So when it's a band, I'm telling them, hey, I'm a mixing engineer in London, worked for so-and-so and this band. And the reason I'm writing to you is that I am just setting up my online mixing service and I would love to work with you. And I'm not trying to go for a hard sell. It's better to focus on building a relationship. So even though I'm saying I'm setting up my online mixing service and I would love to work with you, I'm not saying you can buy my service for this rate, you can do this is the cost, blah, 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 book now, nothing like that. I'm just saying, I would love to work with you in the future, or you guys working on any new awesome music. And then I have a link to a portfolio on SoundCloud. I don't have a website yet, and that's totally fine. No one, as long as the the person can hear a portfolio. So that's all they need. I have a SoundCloud portfolio, it's free. You can do the same. You don't really need a website at this stage. If you do, awesome. I have a portfolio available so they can listen to it. And even better, have testimonials ready on the site. So I would suggest on your website, if you have one, to have portfolio and testimonials and a contact page or box. That's all you need. So this is the email I sent out. This is a concept. This is not a word for word. You can get the word for word if you download the guide below. But I have been pretty successful, and I'm talking to quite a lot of bands, and a few bands that are looking to hire me in the future. The reason it's not now is because it's kind of hard to contact a band and get them in that right moment where they actually just recorded something and need it mixed. So it's always going to be more likely work in the future. Maybe it's going to be a few months ahead, a few weeks, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. It all depends on when you contact them and where they are in their process of making music. But yeah, so I have quite a lot of interest from doing this cold outreach, which it essentially is. But it works. It's quite effective, and I can recommend you guys, if you want to find more clients and bands to work with, check this email out. It really works. So download a free guide. Then you don't have to email bands. You can also find people on forums, and this is something I did recently. And it was the same approach as contacting a band online, through email. And I started off the conversation. It was actually a guy on Reddit who was recording his first album at home. I wrote to him, wished him good luck, and we somehow got into a private chat. And rather than saying, "Hey, I'm a mixing engineer, I want to mix your album, let me know when it's finished," I said, "Okay, so here's some tips of what you can think about when recording at home. What are you struggling with at the moment with your mixes?" And this guy was always struggling about vocals being too loud. And the good thing is I have written an article a few months ago about how to make your mixes translate outside of your studio, and I sent that article to him, and that's on the way of just providing value to someone without going for any sell. You're building relationships, and that's the key to this game, I think. Either if it's sending emails, meeting people, taking people out for coffees or drinks, it's always about building that relationship before they actually become a paying client. The next thing I want to talk to you about, which follows this conversation, is the importance of asking questions. So this goes to a method that is about charging based on value rather than time. And this is a concept that's also in the free guide, and there's an article on the website on this concept. And this conversation I have with a guy on Reddit really shows how good and how much good information you can find from a client using this method. So, for example, the guy on Reddit, I started asking him questions about how this would be a successful record for him, and what would make this a success, what is his dream with this album, etc., etc. And the funny thing is, he had never actually really thought about these questions. And the more I asked him, how is it important for you to sound, he gave me some answers. Then I said, okay, what other factors would make this a success? For example, Spotify plays. You want to sell CDs, you want to go on tour, and all of this stuff was important to him and something he had never thought about. So I got all this information by just asking questions and trying to find out his dreams and goals. And all this before I even suggested that I work with him. Well, actually, before I sent him any rates. We had discussed me mixing something for him. But I tried to find all this out before I actually send him any quotes. And what that does is it helps you understand the client's needs, and it puts you on a different level to someone who just say, "Hey, I want to mix your record, this is my fee." Why would he even work with someone who just says something like that. Wouldn't you want to work with someone who understood what you want and what's important to you, and who can help you get to where you want to be? I know I would. So I can really recommend you guys check this value-based method out. There's an article on the website. Check it out. I can actually link to it in below as well. What I also want to talk to you about finding clients is the power of reminder emails or reminder conversation. Like if you just want to, someone forgot to respond to you, never be afraid of send a reminder. This is actually how I got one of the bands I contacted saying, yeah, we want to work with you in the future, was by sending them a reminder email. Who knows, maybe they saw the email, maybe they were really interested, but they just forgot to reply. So wait a week. I usually wait a week and just say, hey, just floating this to the top of your inbox in case you missed it. Thank you, and Niklas Jepsen. It's a really powerful email, and I've got many interviews for the podcast or the website to come back to me by a reminder email, and the same with clients. I can't stress enough how important it is to send a reminder email. And the full script is also in the guide below. So just to recap before we wrap up this episode, make it the conversation all about the client you're reaching out to. Introduce who you are, build relationships, add value, and ask questions. Learn more about their project, find out about their dreams, and what will make the project a success. It will put you on top of other engineers out there or any other producers, etc. I hope this episode helped. Please send me an email. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want me to expand on anything. Also, please leave a rating and a comment below. I would really appreciate it, and it would help spread the word of the podcast. So thank you guys, and I'll see you soon.